Hey, welcome back to the Backyard Professor Chess videos. Let's do another game from the incomparable Artur Yusupov. Really, truly, this is out of his book Chess Evolution Beyond the Basics #2. It's a game in the Moscow, or the USSR championships held in Moscow in 1955. It's between Geller and Mykonos. Mykonos, I'm not sure. This has a really nifty lesson. And it's a very, actually, it's a very simple game. There's no flash and verve, but there's a very powerful point how this is played by Geller that Yusupov points out that is really wonderful to see. He's instantly hitting the center and offering his pawn. Mykonos doesn't go for that. He pushes the pawn, and now let's see what Geller's going to do. And now, because he's opening like this, let's see what Mykonos is going to do. C5. Yeah, so he's going to go ahead and fianchetto his bishop, and now he's going to bring out his knight. And because of that, Geller says, okay, let's do a castle. And now he pushes E5. And Geller says, okay, let's stop it at that point. Let's hold the center here for now. It's one reason why he pushed the D3. And now Mykonos does E7. And there's a question mark. And Yusupov says this is by far the better move, because the other move costs him a tempo, and he'll show you why. It costs him a tempo here, and from this point on, Mykonos just has trouble. Blam! He goes ahead and hits the pawn. And you go, really? That cost him a... Yes, it did. It cost him, because now look what the threat is. If Mykonos doesn't do something about it, he's going to push that pawn one more time to B5. Now can you see the threat? Yeah. B5 to here. That's brutal. That is really wickedly brutal. So, he has to take the pawn. And now, watch what Geller does that is so interesting. He does 8-3. He's doing a pawn sacrifice here. And Mykonos takes it. And Geller says, thank you very much. Instead of taking it, because it's protected by the bishop, and instead of taking it, even though he could cover it, look at this move, queen to A4. Can you see the threat here now? Really interesting, because now he's threatening to take one of his central pawns. And if he takes the central pawn, he can't retake, because the knight is pinned. And that gives white a tremendous advantage. So that's interesting that it is early in the game, but in this instance, the queen here does a spectacular job. Yeah. Now, he's got to undo the pin. Bishop to D7. And from here on out, Geller systematically does something that leaves Mykonos in a very interesting position. And that's what this game is about. And we'll get to that. Just keep watching how he steadily develops. Now, it does appear at this point that Mykonos has at least an even strength in his center. No, he really doesn't. Ooh. I better move that piece of cloth out of that light. It could start fire. That would suck. So now he does the knight f6, but it's the wrong move order. He should have put the knight f6 2 moves ago. Yeah. 3 moves ago. 4 moves ago. As far as that goes. Now watch. Queen b5. Yeah. And what's he do? He castles. And that's a question mark. Yusupov says, no. Mykonos didn't play this at all. Now, I know you're looking at this. Not this yet because of the knight. But you are looking at this with the queen. But watch how Geller plays this. What he should have done is queen 7. That's what he should have done. Instead of castling. He should have brought the queen out. And now, because of that, now the knight can take the e5. Now it's a good exchange. Can you see why, one step at a time, he brought his queen up? Because now he can catch up in this exchange in a beautiful way and have a much stronger position. And we'll see this here just shortly, where the queen takes the knight. Strong centralized queen. She's not going to be able to stay there, of course. She's not intending to. Bishop will swap the bishop. The rook will take the bishop. Can you see something interesting opening up here? Do I have to point it out to you? White has an open file. In fact, White has a choice of open files. The A and the B, doesn't he? Yeah, that's important. Watch this. Watch this. And the bishop here will take the c6. So, essentially, it's a bishopless board now. But that's okay because... Now, let's read the board, and I will bring in the theme here that this game is showing that is so absolutely very interesting. Because we've all had this. Not this exact one, but we've all had this issue, and we will have it some more, so it pays to recognize how Geller has played, and that's why this game is so important to watch several times. When we look at the board, the most glaring thing about it is the queen in the center. But that's not the most important thing. The most important thing are the pawns. At this point, the pawn structures. And the pawns play the role throughout the rest of this game. Without question. White's pawns are all together nice and compact. Okay? Black has 1, 2, 3 separate pawns, and every queenside pawn is, well, and that one too, is a target. So this is not looking good for Mykonos. Really, truly. And Geller is going to put up the pressure. No, why would you... See, you've got a choice. You're on an open file. Yeah, but he's guarding the pawn now. Well, why don't you come over here and grab the open file now? Look what he's doing, though. Because his pawn structure is superior, yeah? And because, obviously, Black's pawn structure is not as superior in the center, why not back up your pawn with your piece and completely dominate the center? Now he can push his pawns if he so chooses, because he's got a backup. He backed up first. It's a central file. True, it's not open yet, but he's backing up his pawn so that he has clout, so that he doesn't wreck his structure around his king. Not bad. Queen to b6. Okay, now here comes Black. Knight to d2. Queen to b4. Now look at this. Did Geller all of a sudden doing oops, because that's a nice fork, the queen. He's forking the rook and the knight. It's not a bad move. Watch Geller. What a response. Yeah? Take away the queens and the game is white's. White will not hesitate to swap the queens at this point because his pawn structure is going to win this game. Very interesting how that is a power move. There's no question about it. Now, queen to d6, and he gives him an exclamation point. That's a good move. Rook to b3 is interesting because now he's going to put the rook right here and pressure a7. Why not? That's a weakness. It's a single pawn. It's a target. Go get it. Right? And you go, it's protected. Go get it. Go get it. And rook f to e8. He's going to contest. He's going to try to maintain some oomph here so that it doesn't get mulled over in the center. And rook to b7, absolutely. He's going to pressure. He's going to pressure that without question. And now rook e5. And that's a dubious move. He's got a question mark and an exclamation mark. Not really the move to make. Geller can do without the queens. So this means Geller has the initiative. This means that Geller gets to put the pressure on the black pieces. And how he really drills the pressure here is nice. Kablam, queen c7. Let's swap the queens. Black can't afford to. No, that is not good for black. So he comes to here. Yeah, not much else he can do. And now the knight comes in, and look at that knight fork on the rook and the d pawn. That is a good fork because you take away the center, and besides, the pawn is a target, right? You take away the center, you've got the game. Rook to h5. Knight takes the center pawn. Look how strongly, almost as it were, blam blam, in just almost the blink of an eye, blam blam, white is overwhelming him. Because of the pawn structure, the weakness of black's pawn structures, too many targets, not enough connected pawns. And this is one of my fatal weaknesses. I have always had trouble with pawns like this. That's why I'm appreciating this game and showing it to you. So this is, Mykonos is in trouble. He's really got to do something. And now rook e to b1. Fundamentally so. And it's here that black resigns. Double the rooks on the file, and now you can completely dominate this game. You can see the target square, right? Almost regardless of what black tries to do, white's next move is going to be right there. Yeah. So this is a cool little lesson for... There is so much to look at, I know. There is so much to watch for in every single game, and it's why we continue practicing the game, because there's so much to watch for. But really try to watch your pawn structure. In an end game like this, pawns make all the difference. When you have this kind of a pawn structure, you notice how Geller kept attempting to trade. Well, he's more than willing to swap off all four powers. It's his. He would love to swap all four powers. If he was to do that, he wouldn't do that. He simply can't do that. See? Yeah, he can't even... No, he can't even... What do you do? Well, okay, it's black's move. What do you do? You know? Yeah, where do you go? Your knight is literally useless. It can't protect anything. Well, I suppose you could try to protect that square. No, because then... No, that just gives him the knight, see? That's a tough position. And it is because of the weaknesses in the black pawn islands, that gave Geller the chance to play a stronger dynamic with his pieces, meaning that he could afford to pursue an exchange with black, which meant white had the initiative, which meant black had to react. And he was playing a defensive game. So that's a cool little chess lesson, isn't it? Watch your pawn structures. I've lost so many games because I played like poor Mykonus, and I ended up with lots of pawn islands. And a lot of people have beat me because of that. So this is a very valuable lesson for all of us. So there is your chess lesson. Thank you again for watching my chess videos. Be good, do well, have fun. Thanks, come again. Work hard, stay up late at night on weekends, maybe. Wrapping Christmas presents. Yeah, that's it. Otherwise, you know. Okay, you guys. Thank you. Appreciate all your support and enthusiasm. You guys are awesome, and we will see you in the next Backyard Professor Chess video.